Let's talk about how to pass the Burberry video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English here to help you get hired. We break down the recruitment processes for world famous companies to help you get a job there. Today we're going to be talking about the global fashion brand Burberry and how to pass their first round video interview. If you need more help to pass the Burberry video interview, then make sure you check out our Pass the Interview pack. This video is split up into 3 parts. I'm going to talk to you about what you can expect from their recruitment process, the most common questions you can expect in their video interview, and other questions that you might come across which we answer in a rapid fire round. And we tell you what to think about, how to answer those questions, and also other videos that we've made which give you a more in-depth explanation to answer each of these questions. So let's start off with part 1 and talk about what you can expect in Burberry's recruitment process from start to finish. So candidates reported the process to be quite fast. I'm reading from our research note, which we gather from publicly available sources from candidates who've been through the process in the last 12 months. So candidates reported that it was quite fast. It took about a month. They had an online application, then they had a first stage pre-recorded video interview of 4 questions where they had 45 seconds to think about their answer and then 2 minutes to answer. They then had another 2 interviews. There was no record of assessment centres for Burberry. Now let's talk about the 4 most common questions that you can expect in your Burberry video interview. So you already have the timings, you know that you'll have 45 seconds to think and 2 minutes to answer. If you're writing a script for your Burberry video interview, you always want to allow about 100 words per minute. The reason being is I found that over the years that I've been coaching since 2013, 100 words per minute is kind of the sweet spot for answering questions. If you go faster than this, and people tend to gasp, gulp, fall over their words, not leave pauses in between their sentences, so the whole thing just kind of tends to run together. It's almost when you see a block of text on a page. So that's kind of what you're aiming for. Question 1, why Burberry? For an in-depth explanation of how to answer this question and a free worksheet, make sure you click the thumbnail up above. So when answering why Burberry, you really want to think about picking out 5 unique or specific facts about Burberry which you can use to really explain that A, you've done your research, and B, you have really clear reasons why and motivations that you want to work at Burberry. And here's one of the example facts from our research note. Burberry is a British luxury design house and clothing brand with headquarters in London, England. Established in 1856, the company mainly focused on outdoor attire at the onset before moving on to the high fashion market. The company has now grown to become one of the most valuable luxury brands worldwide. So you'll notice that this fact is specific. Now, a word of caution about this, you don't need to spend a long time researching about the company. I would say about 15 minutes. A really easy way to do this is to have a Word document or a Google Doc open, and as you're going through Burberry's website, whether it be about us, history, core values, just copy and paste anything that you find interesting, and then you can use that in your script to give some really compelling reasons about why you want to work for Burberry. Question number 2, tell us about a product of ours that you like. Now this is a great opportunity to tell a personal story. Now I know that with consulting work that I've done with University Arts London and the London College of Fashion, a lot of the students that I saw there were fashion students, and they would have loved to work for a company like Burberry. Now this is probably going to be related to something that you wore, or something that maybe you saw your mum and dad wear, maybe that iconic Burberry coat or a scarf, or just that pattern design that we all know and love and associate with Burberry. So it's just an opportunity for you to tell a story, and you could talk about you know, the luxury, how it made you feel, the quality of it, the design, or expand beyond and look at their most recent products, maybe things that they're presenting on fashion runways in London, Paris, Milan, and so on and so forth. So just explain what this is, why it's important, why it's unique, and what this really means to you and what's the personal story behind it. Question number 3, tell us about a new technology or innovation that excites you. Now, technology is moving at such a rapid rate, and there are 2 examples that instantly come to mind when I think about fashion. Number 1 is the use of augmented reality. And what that means is that companies now have the ability through applications on your phone for you to actually be able to see what an item of clothing will look like on you before you buy it. Because of course that's a big disconnect between digital and brick and mortar stores where people really want to go in and have that experience. We see more fashion companies, for example, Gymshark, who will run most of their business online and then open a flagship store in central locations to provide a shopping experience. The other use of this could be artificial intelligence to refine and match people to products and also to target them with ads as they go through the internet. But a great place to find out about this, if you're not particularly technology savvy or you don't understand how these 2 things connect together between technology and fashion, is just type in fashion industry news into Google or fashion tech news and go and have a read at some recent articles. And I'm sure you'll find it quite interesting and fascinating about how technology is used to innovate and create new fashion and new looks, and also a new customer and user experience. Question number 4, who inspires you? So this is really a highly personal question, and this is something that could be related to your mum, your dad, your siblings, a friend, a teacher. I've lost track of the number of inspiring people that I have followed in my life, and a lot of times they'll link back their inspiration to a single story, a moment in their life where somebody turned around to them and said, you know what, I feel like you're better than this. I certainly know that for me, one of the people that inspires me is my writing mentor, Yuri. When I was 25, I went to my first creative writing class, which was at Goldsmiths University, and I spent 3 months going to the class, reading poetry and short stories out loud, and then putting the hoodie up on my Parker coat and running out the door because I was really shy, awkward, introverted, and I didn't really like people's praise, and people would come up to me and want to talk to me about my writing. And I can always remember the day when Yuri chased me all the way down the road. She tugged on my coat and she said, "Hey, how are you?" And I was like, "I'm okay." And she said to me, "Would you like to go and have some lunch?" I looked at her and I was like, "Thanks, but I don't really like you in that way." And she laughed and she said, "Look, I'm not trying to be weird. I just think that you're good at writing and I keep meaning to talk to you after the class, but you always run away. So I wondered if you wanted to get some lunch. I'm buying." And I thought, free food, I'm in. You've got until however long it takes me to devour a lunch. And I went and had egg, ham and chips, and Yuri talked to me about writing, and that was all she wrote. And if it wasn't for Yuri, then I probably wouldn't be here today and you wouldn't be watching this video. So when you're talking about somebody that inspires you, really think about stories. What was the moment? What was the lesson? What was the thing that you put into practice from that? So one of the many things that she taught me was she told me a story once. I had been meeting up with her in the cafe for a couple of weeks, and she said, "Okay, now's the time for you to publish your writing online." And I was really scared. I just thought, well, my writing's rubbish. Who's going to look at it? You know, people might criticize me. I don't like it. And she told me a really simple story. She said, what if Vincent van Gogh had painted all his life and just put his paintings in the attic? No one would have ever known about him. No one would have discovered him. And he wouldn't have had the opportunity to improve and publicize himself while he was alive. Van Gogh didn't sell a lot of paintings when he was alive. He sold most of them when he was dead. And I kind of thought about that, and it was that simple story that encouraged me to start to publish a blog and then books of poetry and so on and so forth. So that's how I would answer that question. Here's 5 other questions that we came across which we thought were interesting and we wanted to cover with you in a rapid fire round. Question number 1, where do you see yourself in 5 years? At Burberry, doing what I'm doing, but further on in the hierarchy, in the structure. Question 2, how do you manage a team? Now, probably you're watching this and thinking, I don't have any experience of managing a team. So there's 2 ways to think about this. Number 1, how do you manage yourself? This is also relevant for leadership. When people talk about leadership experience, particularly if you're a graduate, you might say, well, I haven't had any. But everyone has to lead. You have to lead yourself. You have to drive yourself towards your goals. You have to discipline yourself. You have to carry out these tasks. You know, none of us, maybe some do, have somebody just on our shoulder going, right, do this, do this, do this. We all have to lead ourselves. And also you might talk about leadership styles that you admire, maybe a manager that you have, or maybe your parents run a business, or you have a member of family or a friend who manages other people, and you can talk about that. For myself personally, a leadership style that I've always tried to aspire to is to lead by example, is to be that person who works hard, who communicates, who's organized, who's innovative, who's a good provider, who is kind, who's loving, who demonstrates his faith for his work. And also, I strive to treat people as I would like to be treated, and to make members of my team feel like they're not just part of a business, they're part of a family. And when things get difficult, I'm not going to be the person who says, well, that's got nothing to do with work, I don't want to know, or I think we'll find somebody else. And that's something I strive to do every day, and I fall short very often. Question 3, tell me about your personal experience. You might think, well, I've never worked at a company like Burberry. We all have transferable skills. When I used to do a lot of face-to-face coaching at a different business, I would often ask a question, do you think a cashier at McDonald's could work as an auditor at Deloitte? And the response was about 50-50. Half the people would say yes, half the people would say no, but I'd always explain. I'd say, well, a cashier at McDonald's needs to have really good numerical skills working on the till. They need to be able to work well under pressure. It's quite a stressful job working at McDonald's. You've got a lot of high turnover. You need to be able to speak to people, have high energy. You need to work with your team. For example, if you have custom orders, you need to be able to resolve conflict if people are having a difficulty or you've got the order wrong. You need to be highly organized and be able to multitask because you're dealing with lots of orders. And you just generally need to be a hard worker and be highly adaptable, as no 2 days are going to be the same. These are all transferable skills which are relevant to being an auditor at Deloitte. So if you don't have similar experience, look at the skills that are listed in the job description and think, well, actually, yeah, I have demonstrated good teamwork when I did that piece of group coursework, or yeah, actually, I do have good numerical skills because I had to learn Excel for that course. Whatever it is, you've got the skills, believe in yourself. Question number 4, what are your interests and hobbies? Be open, be honest, be interesting. You know, try not to give answers that you feel that people want to hear. Tell a little bit of something about yourself. So when people ask me about my interests and hobbies, I say, well, you know, I love martial arts. I'm a martial arts instructor. I love collecting coins. I love fitness, weightlifting. I like to play football. I like to do volunteering. I love movies. I'm a bit of a geek. I love old ads. These are all interesting things. They may not be directly relevant to a job that I'm applying to, but they're pretty good talking points, because as soon as I say that, people will be like, oh, okay, what do you like about old ads or coins, or what martial arts do you do? That sort of thing. So be open, be interesting, because if you're interested in it, then you're naturally going to be more engaged. And finally, question 5. Tell me about a situation where you've had to deal with an angry client. Now, we've all had people who've been upset with us, right? It might not be a client, it might be a colleague, it could be a friend. Ideally, you want to take this from work or academics. So when I'm dealing with somebody that's angry, I try to put myself into the frame of mind that this person isn't really angry at me, because probably they don't know me, or if I genuinely haven't done anything wrong, but I think they're frustrated. They're frustrated and it's kind of bubbling out, and therefore they're becoming angry. So maybe they're, raising their voice, or, using curse words, whatever they're doing. So the first thing I can do is just listen to them. The second thing that I tend to do is just tend to repeat back to them what they've said to me, just to make sure that I've understood that, and also to make sure that they feel that they're heard. Very often when people are frustrated, they feel like no one's listening to them or nobody understands them. The next thing I'll do is say, right, so how can I help you? What can we do to resolve this? Then I'll tell them what I'm going to do and also when I'm going to get back to them. Most situations where there is a conflict can be resolved with just communicating and being clear. That's certainly something that I still try to do better, and I have been guilty of not doing in the past. So trying to just be a bit clearer in our communication and our expectations. Say, well, look, we can fix this, but we can't fix this, or I can do this, but I'm gonna need to speak to somebody else. I'm gonna do that now. And I'm gonna let you know by the end of the day what's happened, even if I've not been able to communicate with that person. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. We try and put out the best free content to help people with different interviews at world famous companies. Please, if you've enjoyed it, make sure that you like this video. Drop us a comment down below, even if it's just a thanks or could be better. Here's a video that I'd like you to make next. Subscribe to the channel. We release videos every week. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the best of luck. See you later.